Hi, I'm John DeBella, and this is your Classic Rock Update.
Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me.
It's been over 30 years since Van Halen had a hit with the Kinks' You Really Got Me, and Dave Davies from the Kinks has decided to speak up. Why he's talking now is beyond me. Well, after all, in 2004, he did have a stroke, and he was sidelined for a while, but now he is back, and he's making himself very verbal of all things, You Really Got Me by Van Halen. It seems that he thought it was very middle America, that anybody could have done it that way. Dave Davies went on to say that he really came to resent that song because, well, when the Kinks were on the road in the United States, people would come up to him and say, "We love the way you cover that Van Halen song." Oh, that had to hurt. But speaking of Van Halen, now, there have been rumors flying around for a very long time that a new Van Halen album was on its way. Well, it seems that last week we got pretty close to a confirmation. Warner Chappell Music, the people who publish Van Halen's music, said that they extended their contract with Eddie and Alex Van Halen and that a new album with David Lee Roth was on its way. That seems like a pretty good confirmation. Add to the fact that Irving Azoff, who is their manager, is also the head of Live Nation, said twice last week that there would be a Van Halen tour. I think we're getting an album and a tour. If you ever tried to download Beatles songs on iTunes, you know you can't do it. Now, there have been negotiations going on for years between iTunes and Apple Music to see if they can get the Beatles music onto iTunes. Well, it's failed once again. This week, Yoko Ono said, "Look, Steve Jobs is a brilliant guy, but there are just some things that aren't working out here, so don't hold your breath." That seems pretty definite that we're not going to see any Beatles music on iTunes. Now, Paul McCartney said in 2008 that there were a couple of sticking points. I smell the word money. Do you? Well, I put on my investigative journalist hat because I knew that there had to be footage out there somewhere. I'm talking about U2. They're finally on the road. You know, their tour got canceled because of Bono's back. Well, last week in Turin, Italy, they started the tour. They did 3 new songs, one called North Star, another called The Return of the Stingray Guitar, and this is Glastonbury, and that's what I found footage of. Now, this isn't the greatest footage you'll ever see, but check it out. U2 is back on the road. AC/DC's Brian Johnson let slip that there's a live AC/DC album on its way. Now, the last time we had a live AC/DC album was 1992, which was simply AC/DC Live. In 1997, there was that Bonfire box set that had some live tracks on it also. AC/DC recently completed a lengthy tour in support of their Black Ice album, their first studio album in 8 years. And speaking of studio albums, Back in Black celebrated its 30th anniversary. That's actually the #5 most-selling album of all time. And speaking of time, we're out of it. That's it for this week's Classic Rock Update. I'll see you weekday mornings on the radio at Classic Rock 102.9 MGK. Grr.